everyone, this is Zibo and welcome to today's video. So in today's video, I'm gonna do a unique hero tier list to let you know what are the unique heroes that is on top of the tier. And yeah, the tier list that I'm using is none other than the one that I made myself. So I uploaded the picture. I'll include the link to this tier list in the description below, so feel free to use it. The tier list rating is on screen right now, so you guys can have a short look, you know, what's SS tier, what's S tier, what's A tier, what's B tier. So I'll not be including any unit in the do not use category, because in my opinion, all unique units can be used in PvE game mode, and with the inclusion of Tower Horizon, your unique heroes, right, will see some use within the tower itself. So eventually the correct element will come and you can use them. So none of them will be included in the do not use category. Okay, so let us start today's video. Because there's a lot of unique units, so I'm gonna just briefly talk about the strengths, as well as, you know, why the unit is SS tier, S tier, A tier, B tier. So I'm not gonna talk super duper in depth like, oh, this unit is strong in what scenario, that kind of stuff, but I'll try to cover as much as possible in order to provide a detailed video. So let us start. The first unit, you know, indisputable, the strongest SS tier unit, or the most valuable SS tier unit right now, is none other than Future Princess. So let me find Future Princess. Where are you, Future Princess? Future Princess. Yeah, there's a lot of unit here, so as you guys can see, yep, none other than Future Princess. So I don't need to explain too much. You guys see her everywhere in Colosseum and Arena. She tanks, she heals, she deals damage, she CCs really very easily. She's able to complement you in most game modes, except maybe raid. Like, she's not that great in raid, but she's still good. So overall, SS tier unit, super worthy investment. Don't really think that she'll be phased out that soon unless a super major counter is introduced to her. But then again, Beth will still remain in the meta if a super counter is introduced to the princess. So I'm pretty sure, you know, this main character within our storyline will stay for quite a while, even after a few patches. So without a doubt, SS tier. The next SS tier unit is none other than Beth. So Beth, I don't think I need to introduce, right? She's just a super hyper offensive character. She's able to deal damage while regenerating shield, so she just need to press one button, or rather two buttons, right? Normal attack and weapon skill to effectively beat you in arena. And in game mode such as Camazon, she's great as well because of her special ability. The more units she fight, the more tanky she become and the more damage she dish out. So overall, just a great unit for all sorts of game mode right now. And her kit is very flexible because she's a melee damager and her chain skill is range, so she can be used even in those stages where there's a range immunity with a pure melee team as well. So she's great in that aspect, no doubt one of the SS tier unit. Okay, no arguments. And the next SS tier unit that I'm going to include is definitely Nari. So these three units forms the trifecta in arena. So this Nari will counter Future Princess will counter Beth, Beth will counter Nari. So it's like a control mechanics to this trifecta, and Nari's flexibility lies in the ability that she's able to move and attack at the same time, and her balls, right, benefits a lot from crit hit chance. So another unit on the SS tier that's gonna pair very well in Nari, I'll talk about it later, has a crit hit chance. I'm pretty sure you guys know who I'm talking about. But Nari is very flexible, and she's one of the premier damage dealer within your guild raids as well, simply because she is very flexible as a normal damage dealer in your raids, or she can act as a support for your range teams, you know, to boost your Tiana or your Bari's damage within guild raids. So overall, very good in range teams, and her kit is really very sustainable in the long run of the game. So I don't really think Nari will be faded out of existence, because as long as she has the flexibility to move and attack, and she has damage debuff, and you know, as long as there's super strong light unit like Future Princess around, Nari will always be viable. And even with the introduction of Beth, you can see that, you know, Nari is still run very frequently. So as long as there's light unit for Nari to counter, Nari will stay in the PvP game mode, and she's super duper flexible, SS tier without a doubt. Okay, the fourth SS tier unit is none other than Ogma. So even though there's Future Princess in the pool, right, Ogma is still one of the premier tanks around because of his special ability, which is a team-wide party buff, which makes your whole team tankier. Very invaluable for all sorts of PvE game mode, right? And for Ogma, right, his kit in PvP is one of the most versatile, because defense buff plus 45% for your whole team is pretty invaluable. And he's sort of like a check to Nari as well, although sometimes Nari can still beat Ogma, but it's very tough. And overall, right, Ogma's reflect ability is pretty good under certain circumstances. Although, right, to be really honest, Ogma is slightly falling off because the meta is shifting towards more offensive teams. But he's still an invaluable unit, and his usage in Colosseum is still one of the highest next to Future Princess. So you guys can see how valuable Ogma is. Although we don't know what the future holds for him, but I'll say that Ogma is still the premier tank to have on your team if you want a super duper tanky mid shield that is able to increase your whole team's survivability. So SS tier without a doubt. Okay, and the last SS tier I'm going to include on the list is none other than Gabriel. Where's my Gabriel? Yep, so Gabriel. So the reason why I put Gabriel on the list is because Gabriel is super duper versatile. She's able to deal damage, she's able to heal, she's able to debuff. So she fits very well in many teams. So let's just start with the raid teams, for example. So raid team, she's good in range teams because of crit hit chance buff and light debuff. So if the other unit, light unit that is range that can benefit from her debuff, you can slot her in. She's also very good in light teams. So your Lapis, Eugene, light team will benefit greatly from her light resistance debuff. At the same time, she's also really good in arena because she is a pretty decent counter to melee units because you can't really get close to her if she holds her weapon skill. Her weapon skill deals tons of damage, by the way. Other than that, right, she also deals a lot of damage. If you don't want to fight her, she can just shoot you down from far. So she's a very good counter to Ogma. Pretty decent against Future Princess, also very decent against Beth. So she's able to beat the trifecta of arena right now. So she's good in PvP, and in Colosseum, right, she's included in the Mia, Future Princess, Gabriel, and Ogma's heal team, sustain team. So she's also seeing pretty decent usage. For now, I'll say that she's good, right, because of her versatility, because you can use her as a support, you can use her as a main unit for heal and stuff. So I'll say that she's SS tier because she's able to beat the trifecta, and with future unit introduction, I think her value will increase tremendously because more and more light units will be introduced. So her light resistant debuff will place a more increasing role, similar to Nari's defense debuff, the range defense debuff that Nari get. So she's a unit that will definitely stay for a bit, and yeah, look forward to more Gabriel in action in arena in the future. So basically that's the 5 SS tier unit. So the last tier, right, that I have, Bari was in SS tier, but to be honest, I'll put Bari in S tier right now. So Bari is still superb for your PvE content, still superb for your raid. Still decent in Colosseum in your range teams. She falls short from SS tier because she's really hard to pilot within the arena. So although there are maps that Bari can use, right, but Bari is really seeing way lesser usage than in the past in arena. So she is really good in PvE, but PvP side arena wise, she really don't see much use anymore, at least at the highest tiers that I'm playing right now. So honestly speaking, she's kind of like out of the loop for a while for PvP. So she's still a decent unit to invest in, no doubt. If you want damage, Bari is the unit to go. But if you want to have flexibility, like I say, you want a unit that's good in PvP and PvE, right, then Nari is not the way to go. But she's awesome in guild rate. So if you want to look for a unit for insane guild rate damage, then look for Bari, no doubt. Okay, and the next S tier unit is also a unit that fallen from grace, which is a SS tier Eugene. So last time, right, Eugene was SS tier on my list because there wasn't Future Princess, there wasn't Beth, and there wasn't Gabriel. So Future Princess and Gabriel sort of take over Eugene's lead as a premier light attacker. And the thing is, usually, unless you're running the 100% melee attack team, right, you won't really have Future Princess and Eugene in the same team. So for PvP purposes, right, if you have Future Princess, most of the time you won't include Eugene unless you are going for like full offense melee attack 200%. So Eugene's usage for arena is still there. She's still like seeing a 30 to 40% usage depending on the map that she's on. But in case you guys don't know, Eugene isn't really that good for PvE. So even though she's still pretty decent for PvP, she's not that good for Colosseum, and she's not that good for PvE stuff. I mean, she's good, but she's not as good compared to Future Princess. That's why she dropped the tier. She's on par for arena because in the hands of a good player, Eugene can still fight nearly everyone in the arena, maybe except for Nari. So that is why she's still super duper powerful in arena. But other than arena, honestly speaking, Eugene's usage have, you know, dropped tremendously for all other game modes, and she's honestly not as good as Future Princess for other game modes. So I put her in S tier for this list. Yeah, from SS tier from the previous list. Okay, so the next S tier unit I would say is Gabriel. Okay, so Gabriel, right? At first glance, you might think, oh, Gabriel is just a super duper glass cannon, and he won't really see much use in arena. But there is actually a team that Gabriel is viable in, and that is the Marina, Okma, as well as Gabriel water team. So in that team, right, Gabriel has a bit of sustain, and Gabriel as a damage dealer is super duper insane. So the damage that he's able to output is really insane, and he's one way to deal with other range teams, because you burst the range team down before they're actually able to burst you. So he's a super duper good damage burst, and he just does so much damage. And in case you guys haven't realized, right, like other than Bari, Garum is the next premier attacker for raids because of how low cooldown his weapon skill is, and just simply how much damage he can output for his kit. So raid Garum is SS tier, no doubt. And for Colosseum, right, Garum is still seeing some use if you are focusing on the water teams, although Rue sorts of counter Garum. But then again, I mean, if the opponent doesn't have a Rule, right, then Garum still has a super duper good chance to win the opponent, simply because of the damage they can output. And so yeah, Garum is S tier, no doubt, because he's viable in the multiple game modes, and he just does so much damage for guild raid. Okay, so that's S tier. Okay, the next S tier unit, right, is none other than Mia. So Mia's here very simple. She's the premier healer. I'm not very sure whether she dropped down from SS tier, but Mia is the premier healer. She can be used in all the game modes except for arena. Like, she's just that good. She's able to heal tremendous amount. Very invaluable debuff for guild raid bosses in this raid, especially, in case you guys haven't realized that nowadays more and more bosses are doing debuff on you, so her debuff is going to become more and more valuable. She's not super versatile in arena, because honestly she's really hard to use. I don't encourage you to use her, but you can try. But other than that, she's superb in all the other game modes, so she's S tier. Not on the same power level as Future Princess, but she's super duper good as well. So yep, over here. By the way, right, the position of the unit, right, doesn't indicate the strength of the unit, so I'm just gonna generalize them, like group them all in one tier. Okay, so the last unit that I'm gonna put on S tier, right, okay, is none other than Tiana. Okay, so the reason why Tiana is on this S tier list, right, is because Tiana, right, is seeing some resurgence within the arena, simply because there are some people starting to run range teams. So your Nari, Tiana, Gabriel, or Nari, Tiana, Garum. So range teams are starting to see a resurgence. So in arena, Tiana has certain viability, but very little. In Colosseum, right, Tiana is still a very viable unit to boost your Earth team's damage. So Tiana's defense debuff, right, is stackable with Nari. So that's why you can see in most raid bosses, right, that deals insane damage, you have a Nari and Tiana within the team, because the two debuff stack, and debuff in the long run is really sustainable. Although the usage of Tiana in both Colosseum and Arena isn't as spectacular as when Tiana is released, right, but Tiana is awesome in PvE content, especially if you're fighting against boss units, because, right, the defense debuff, I think other than her is like Coco and Gramarye, so the other two rare units. So like, she's one of the unique unit that is able to apply a debuff and also do a lot of damage on her own. So a premier debuff attacker similar to Nari, although her PvP usage is not as high, therefore she's only in the S tier. Okay, so that's all for the S tier list. Okay, and yeah, now moving on to the A tier. So I'm very sad to say Marina is dropped tremendously to the A tier. Very sad to say. So even though Marina can still see some play in arena, right, that's pretty much the only game mode that you will see Marina still active around. But the usage in arena has dropped tremendously with the introduction of Beth as well as Future Princess, because these two units plays very well into Marina, and with like the lack of OP fire units in the the game mode, right, in Arena, honestly, the water units are having a hard time countering anyone. So Marina, even though really still a very strong unit, but her usage is very low compared to when she was like at her peak. And nowadays there's just so many other good units around in Arena that she isn't really like your premier go-to unless she's like your maxed out unit, right? And her lifespan, you can see, is starting to drop quite a bit, but I can see her coming back more if they introduce a super OP fire unit. So hopefully they do it soon, and because she's my waifu and I really love to see her around. But sadly in Arena, I don't actually run her as often because her skills are very predictable and very easily counterable by all the other units. And the thing about Marina is, right, she doesn't perform as well as all the other units on the SS tier for other PvE content. So she's a tank, right, but Ogma and Future Princess does a way better job. And if you say that she's a damage, Future Princess and Beth does way more damage than her as well. So in terms of PvE, she is losing her ground slowly, right? Because these units can tank, can do more damage than her. And in terms of rate, right, Marina's damage output isn't going to compare to these two as well. So why invest in Marina when you can invest in these two units? So that's my honest opinion. Even though Marina is still a SS tier waifu to me due to the attachment, but in terms of power level, she has dropped tremendously, and I rank her in A tier for this list. Really sad to say that, but it's the truth. Okay. So the next A tier unit is none other than Rue. So Rue does have a place in Arena as well as Earth teams for damage. But the reason why she's here is because she's really very niche. She's one of the newer units, so she's definitely going to have a high time. You can see some people running her. But the short range of her attack makes her not that strong in Arena. Like, it's pretty easy to kite her, and if you can tank her, it's pretty much game over for her because her weapon skill isn't gonna charge up as fast as some of these other OP units. And the thing about her is because the earth buff is pretty like limiting to her kit, right? The teams you can build with her pretty much is earth team to maximize the effectiveness of the party buff. So I don't want to put her on the S tier because she's not as flexible as Mia, she's not as flexible as Tiana Bari, but she's also not super duper insane damage dealer such as Gabriel. So if you want a unit that can do damage, you have these two, right? You want a damage that is debuff, you have these two. And if you want a damage dealer for your earth team, you have these two as well. So Rue is pretty awkward. I would say that she's not viable, but she's not as strong. She really needs good planning as well as like a decent team to make her function. Okay, by the way, there's going to be a lot of unit in the A tier simply because some of these A tier units can actually see more viability in the future because of introduction of new units for them to counter or with the future buffs upcoming. Okay, so the next A tier unit is none other than Lan. So Lan, other than Nari, is another basic unit that is viable to counter Future Princess in Arena. So you see some people running her. Other than that, she is also able to heal your team, right? She acts as a semi-tanker and her ability is still pretty decent, although not as powerful as S tier, no doubt. Okay, so yeah, basically that's why she's in A tier. Like, if you slot her in the right team to counter the right unit, she's still good in PvP, although not good in Colosseum. Like, she doesn't play a role. But there's a uprising for basic teams on the Colosseum in the KR server, I think, really to counter the like massive influx of light units, which is these two units. Really, there's way too many powerful Future Princess around, so basic is there to counter. And with that argument, I'm gonna put Idol Eva in A tier as well. So this is a personal opinion. I put her in A tier because I think Eva is this unit that, you know, she's not superb in Arena, but she's superb in all other game modes because she's a buff, she is able to deal damage, and she's able to buff your basic team. So Arena, no go. Arena, she's really weak. Honestly, because I run her myself, right? I think she's a weakling of my team. But other game modes, she's superb. And she's a major counter to Future Princess in basic teams right now. Because light is a thing, she's a thing. So she's not super duper versatile as compared to these units. And she's not super duper insane in Arena as compared to these units. So she's only here. But she does have a place, so if you plan to use her, yep, she's definitely there for you. Okay, and the next unit, right, is none other than Bianca. Okay, so Bianca, Arena wise, still seeing use paired with Nari. Bianca Nari crit combo is pretty scary. In case you guys haven't seen Nari critting you to death, it's really very scary. And Bianca pairs really well with Garum as a premier water team damage dealer. So these two pair together is gonna give you millions of damage when you have them max out. So she's still good. Still see some use in Colosseum when paired with Garum. So the reason why she's not here and not here is because she's one of the premier partner to Garum, which is a pretty awesome unit. So yeah, pretty much that's the reason why she's there. And in terms of unit, like I mentioned, most of them are usable in PvE, and Bianca is without a doubt one of the better one because she has heal, right? And in PvE you have control over units, so you can use her to deal a lot of damage. You are also able to crit opponents with her. Okay, yeah, so basically I think that's pretty much it for the A tier units. So I'm gonna end off the B tier units by just briefly talking about them, because from what I can see, right, the video length is getting insanely long. So I'm just gonna include all the other unique units in B tier. So Arabelle, Lupina, Vishuvek, Aleph, and Pilvice, and Lapis. And the last unique unit that I'm gonna put here, okay, there's no more unique unit that I'm gonna put here. Okay, so very straightforward. Okay, these units are pretty decent, but honestly speaking, they are really niche. Vishuvek doesn't see much use in PvE content because of her awkward AI, and because she's not tanked, so she's gonna charge to her death in most PvE game mode that is not player controlled. Aleph at the same time also very niche. These two units see some use in arena, but it's really very niche. Although these units have received some buff, but at their current state, right, they are still very niche, honestly speaking. Pilvice and Lapis is just a relic of time. They, honestly speaking, I don't really think they will come back anytime soon in any sorts of game mode, because party buff is too niche, and they are way better light element and fire element unit like Mia, Vishuvek, if let's say you want to have fire element. And fire as a whole is just really weak, so Pilvice her buff is pretty weak at this point. So yeah, just don't use her unless you want to be meme or something. Okay, Lupina and Arabelle does see some use in raid as well as arena. They still need some use, but I'm gonna put them here is because these three units, right, they have the same element party buff, but the thing is they are not on the same power level as Garum. And even though they gave multiple buff to Arabelle is honestly slowly falling off from the damage dealer department because you have Beth right now. So Beth is a way higher dark damage dealer compared to her. So if you have a Beth, I don't think you want Arabelle. So that's why you know, she's here. And yeah, pretty much the same for Lupina as well. Way too slow. She doesn't hit hard and fast enough, even though she's one of the hardest hitter for guild raids. But that's all the title to her. All these units don't see any use in the arena right now, honestly speaking. Dark, because Future Princess is too dominant. Like at the highest levels that you're playing, right, you don't see them as much. Although all these units, please take note, they are viable if you have the correct team for them, but you really have to narrow your team building to these units in order to make them effective. Whereas all these SS tier units, they can be slot in most teams, right, and they still gonna perform super amazingly. Therefore, I'm gonna put them here. Okay, so who are the units that have a chance to go up a tier? So I'll say Marina and Bianca, if the next unit or the next unit is a super OP fire unit, so they will definitely see even more use in the future to counter the OP fire unit. And I think with more people trying out Vishuvek, I think Vishuvek can go up a tier. But Vishuvek is really super duper weak in PvE, so never ever put Vishuvek there. And yeah, I honestly don't think like these units will be meta anytime soon. I don't think so. Aleph maybe if everybody starts using range units in arena, but other than that, he faced a similar issue with Vishuvek, which is they are really bad in other PvE game modes. So yeah, basically I'll say that that's all for today's tier list. The video is a bit long because there's so many unique units to talk about. I'll include all the tier list rankings, you know, in the link in the description below. So if you guys want to see the tier list again, you know, feel free to visit the link and see this tier list. If you want to use this tier list for your own videos, or if you want to use this tier list for your own leisure purposes, feel free to use it as well. I'll link up this tier list in the description down below. And yeah, that's pretty much it for today's unique tier list rating up until Archangel Gabriel, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Bye guys.